So I made a number of comments the other day about AI art and the prevalence of AI art and what's going to happen with AI art. And I basically told people that are artists that, it's going to be bad and it's only going to get worse, and you're going to have to probably get a different job at some point, unless you're part of like the 1%, basically, right? A lot of people were very, very, very unhappy about this, right? And I feel bad for the people who are going to get their jobs replaced, but you can't stop progress, and AI art is it's going to be progress.
Asmon is very rude, and he's also wrong, but not entirely. And he's also right, but not entirely. But here's where I think he's wrong. So AI will not replace jobs. What will replace jobs is other artists who use AI. That's going to be generally the trend that we see, I think, in the future, is that people who use AI as a tool to increase their proficiency and efficiency, they are going to be the ones who win out favorably in the job market. Now, that's not fair. I don't know that that's right, but that's what's going to happen. This is all about creating the matrix. However, and this gets tricky, is that traditional art, traditional artists, we're talking oil painters, acrylics, people who use graphite, they're still going to be around. I mean, what happened when digital art came around with Photoshop and the Cintiq, the tablets, is that the bulk of traditional artists either adapted or they doubled down on their traditional art, and they became a niche. They actually became the minority, while the rest of the art industry expanded. It grew in size, it grew in numbers of people who were artists, essentially, because these new tools were not only more effective and efficient, I mean, they're fast, but they also allowed for much more detail. The undo button in art is amazing. It's profound. I've done oil paintings. There's no undo button in that anywhere at all. It's horrible. So traditional art will still exist. It will become even more of a niche. And digital art, people who are actually using a stylus and creating with this super powerful tool, that I believe there's still going to be a place for them, obviously, because they will still have creative skills that somebody who's just using AI, just prompting with zero artistic skills, will not have. So that's why I believe that artists who use AI are going to have a leg up in this new environment.
The thing is that art is in the eye of the beholder, right? The consumer is never wrong in matters of taste. I mean, there's like 50 different phrases that people use that encapsulate the way that the human mind perceives art. And the one like commonality is that it's subjective, basically, right? And so if people see value in AI art and they like AI art, then they're going to look at it. And there is no amount of like screaming, crying, and shitting yourself on Twitter that's going to make a normie like care about this. They just don't give a shit. People don't care about the process, they care about the result. Nobody gives a shit that everybody here, oh wow, nobody likes slavery, but everybody has a phone.
So the thing he said about the process, that to me is interesting, because people who view and enjoy art, most of them don't really care about the process at all. That's for the artist. The artist is the one who does it for the love of creating the thing. Whereas the consumer or the enjoyer of art, they're really just looking for the end result. However, there are people who are so interested in the medium and in what goes into creating, they'll be interested in looking at the behind the scenes.
Everybody says AI art is slop, but we live in a world full of hogs. Nobody cares. That's great. Oh, you think it's slop. That's fine. But there's hogs everywhere. Get mad all you want, but people are going to watch this and they're not going to give a shit. And that's it.
Okay, so there's obviously the backlash against AI art. Now, I remember about over a year ago on Instagram, it was insane. It was wild. People were they were angry. They were angry because AI art, Midjourney especially, really made this quantum leap in quality. That's when it was like, okay, this is legitimately creating real solid works of art, images that are just phenomenal. And no artist can deny the quality that is attainable using these programs. So you can have your subjective opinion that AI art sucks, there's no soul to it. I get it. I understand that. That's really basically, I think, the human spirit rebelling against this rise of the machines and technology basically replacing all the things that give us joy, which for a lot of people, art gives them joy. And it's a means of having a career. And I myself, I tried that. It didn't work out for me just because I wasn't fast enough. And so now I'm one of these people who's like caught in the middle. You know, I see it as a powerful tool, but I also see, obviously, how it's going to be disruptive to so many traditional artists. And by traditional, I mean everything from an artist who's using the simplest of tools, like a pencil or paints, all the way up to a computer, like using Photoshop and Blender. I almost forgot that one. There's a bunch of other ones as well. But everything prior to AI art, I'm going to call traditional artists, because they actually had to have some level of skill and expertise in order to create a really impressive image. But now with AI, all you need to do is know how to prompt. There's still people making completely atrocious images with AI art. And it's just because, first of all, they probably don't have a creative imagination. They don't have good taste. They don't know what a good image looks like. The other thing is they're not really diving in deep and learning how exactly to use AI to create an impressive image. But back to what he was saying. So this initial backlash that was like white hot a couple of years ago and now it's kind of resurfaced, I get it. Pretty much, I believe that there are going to be people who will always detest AI art. We'll call them purists. These are people who, for whatever reason, they want art that is traditional, produced traditionally. I get that, and that's their take. But I think that will diminish as the dust sort of settles and we see that what's happening in the landscape is that AI art is going to cause an explosion in creativity, in imagery, and graphic novels, and things like that. And it's basically going to raise the bar of quality. So there's going to be even more content. Basically, there's another way to look at it, and it is through basically photography. Prior to the machine of the camera, all a human could ever do is simply just create what they saw with their own skills and very limited technology like a paintbrush or a pencil. And now with a camera, they could reproduce reality itself. Is it cheating? No, because it's its own thing. Photography is using a machine to reproduce reality. And then on top of that, there's artistry, because not anyone can just point and click. But then if you don't know how to use the machine, the camera, you're going to get a subpar or crappy image. But then if you do appreciate the camera, you're going to learn how to use the thing. You're going to learn certain techniques like design and composition, and you're going to take beautiful images that somebody with no skill or no interest couldn't even touch. And in the beginning of photography, all that existed was black and white, and that was just how it was. When color came along, that was a revolution. And I'm sure people were upset about that. But what happened? The majority of photographers adopted color, and black and white essentially became a niche. It's still used. It's considered a stylistic preference, and people can love what they love, and artists can use what they use. And I think more or less the same basic thing is going to happen over again with the advent of AI art. There's going to be people who use traditional art, and they're going to find their audience, and that audience is going to appreciate them because it's traditional. And then there's going to be people who want the end result, the beautiful image or the beautiful film, because now we're moving into film with AI. And it's going to be a roller coaster as far as how it evolves, but you basically get your pick.
If you use AI to create art, then you deserve to be in jail for stealing, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so first of all, the subject around stealing art. That is an interesting one that's complicated because in the beginning, basically, just we know this. AI just hoovered up all the images on the internet to train these models to learn how to create art. So artists out there, when they heard about this, they were in an uproar. I didn't give permission. You scanned my artwork. You stole my artwork. And essentially, that is how a human being learns. They basically just look at all the artwork out there and they basically derive their own style from a combination of artists whom they like. And the problem with a style is you can't actually copyright a style. Vincent van Gogh could never copyright his style. The thing about style is that that's kind of the fingerprint of the artist. And so it's kind of looked at by the overall art community as, hey, if somebody steals somebody else's style, that's not technically illegal, but that's really looked down upon. You don't have your own creativity. You don't have the ability to make your own style. Well, you kind of suck. But we see how a lot of artists have kind of a mishmash of like, okay, a style from this artist, a style from that artist. And it's actually unavoidable pretty much. And then there's that saying, good artists borrow, great artists steal. Well, this these AI companies, basically, they stole all this content from the internet to create this product that then anybody with no artistic skill can use to recreate art. I think it is kind of scummy, though, if somebody were to prompt to create images that look like one specific artist and then sold art that looked exactly like that. I think that's a little, I don't know about unethical, but it's just a little slimy. Like, just don't do that. And then the other thing that really kind of bothers me is when you see, and I've seen people on the internet who actually take credit for the AI image as though they made it. They didn't make it. They just prompted it. And then Midjourney or Dolly or whatever created the image. So you used an AI program to generate an image. You yourself didn't do that. And I've seen little bits here and there, people doing that online, taking credit as though they sat there and they rendered the thing themselves. They didn't. That's a little dark. That's, I don't know, what is that? Sociopathic? Psychotic? It's weird. It's just weird. Don't lie.
AI is coming for video too. Of course they are. Absolutely.
Now, as far as AI doing still imagery, everybody, all the artists online were thinking like that's what it was going to just stay at. Well, no, it's moving on to video. And that is actually going to perhaps potentially open up a golden age for like just anybody to create their own movie. A movie inside their head that they can then produce and put out there for the world to enjoy. I think everybody wins, because what's happening now with movies, with most major films, is the budgets are so high that there's all these middlemen, all these producers, all these financiers who come in and they get monkey and squirrely with the product. And I think that's one of the many reasons why the true artists, the directors and the writers are kind of like, they're pushed to the side almost. That's why we're seeing more and more sequels and just regurgitations of old things, because it's like, well, if that made money, we'll do it again. And that's why there's this massive stagnation in the film and video industries, and the industry is ripe for disruption of its own. So I think this is kind of potentially a little bit of poetic justice that we might hopefully see. And obviously, major studios are going to use AI to augment and enhance their own CGI, their own effects. And that would just make sense. So basically, the bar is going to get raised higher and higher and higher. So will ordinary, everyday people be able to make a really astounding movie through AI? It's possible. Anything's possible. Honestly, I think video and film, that's actually not the end goal. The end goal is 3D. It's the virtual world. That's where AI and AI art generating software is headed. This is all about creating the matrix. This is about creating a real-time VR experience, whether it's a movie or a video game, that you can plug into, and they need AI to basically be capable of generating these amazing, beautiful images in real time as you're interacting in that environment. And that's, I think, what the real end goal of all this is. So people are freaking out about 2D art and then film. Those are going to be disrupted, obviously. But what we're building is the matrix. And this is wild, because what I think is that there, of course, are going to be studios, major studios, that are going to be creating their own little worlds, their own little universes. But it's possible that, let's say, something like the metaverse might be set up in such a decentralized way that it enables just anybody to create their own world, and they can use AI to create a film or video game experience. And so there might be millions of different experiences and films and video games that you can actually go into, and I think this is pretty awesome. It's pretty wild, but who knows? But that is, I believe, where it's going to end up, because humans crave novelty, and we're seeing from all these major companies, these studios, that when they get to such a point, their imagination gets kind of stifled. And I think we just feel that in our entertainment. It's just kind of like when something special comes around, that's when everybody gravitates to it. So yeah, I'll just end with what I said earlier in the video, is that I think really this is just people's being upset by the disruption that this is causing, the fear that it's going to take not just their job away, but a creative passion that they have. And that makes complete and total sense. And ultimately, though, I think this is people railing against this rising machine that seems like it's consuming everything. And there's good reason to be upset by that. How things will come out in the end, who the hell knows? But anyway, if you have an opinion on AI art, if you think it's garbage, or if you think it's amazing, or somewhere in the middle, just comment. I want to know what you think. And subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
And I feel bad for the people who are going to get their jobs replaced, but you can't stop progress, and AI art is it's going to be progress.
Yeah, that's true. Jobs are definitely going to be lost in this field and every field. The world is just, we're in for something. AI is going to be like a tidal wave washing over everybody. And so what can we do? And so in this case, I definitely can see more and more a reason why people need a universal basic income. Who knows when that will happen, if it'll happen, but if it doesn't, man, people are going to be upset.